Good afternoon, class. I thought I would do a little video lecture here, talking about the last part really of week 5 that I didn't get a chance to during the week 4 video, sort of picking back up where I left off with that. Um, and also looking at week 6, which is basically next week, which is midterm week. Hopefully, if you had a chance to look at some of the emails I sent out over the last week or so that sort of details the whole deal with the Respondus lockdown browser. We'll look at some of those videos in case you didn't get a chance to look at them again, show you where they're at, so you can go back and kind of play those a little bit. We will talk briefly about the process analysis essay, the one that's due this Sunday. I pretty much covered that toward the last, like I said, last 20 minutes of last week's video. So you can always go back. I put that into this week's folder as well. So to give you a chance to sort of go back and sort of look at that, look at sort of, the topics, the parameters of the actual paper. We'll talk about the Joan Dinion piece a little bit, what you should expect from that. And basically just, I want this video to be sort of one to get you ready for the midterm timed essay, because you're going to have 60 minutes once you download that Respondus browser to basically type, proofread, edit, spell check, grammar check, and then upload, obviously save, upload, and submit. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in detail. Right now, I'm going to pick up sort of where I left off, show you a little video about the process analysis essay. Again, that's the one that's going to be due on the 16th of June, which is this Sunday. Same deal by 11:59. I'm going to be in the process of this week, obviously, grading SA2s for those that have submitted SA2s on time. With the whole deal with SA3, because you do have that quiz due on Thursday, and it's sort of with SA3 to get you kind of used to not necessarily having a peer review, because with SA4, which is that extended definition essay, the one that you're going to have to do for the Respondus exam, you're not going to have a peer review session. You're not going to have the opportunity to basically send it to me or tutor.com. This is really these two essays, 3 and 4, is to see how well you can do on your own as it relates to proofreading, editing, spell check, and grammar check without the assistance necessarily of me or your peers. So let me share the screen over here, and we will look at this process analysis essay. Give me 1 second. Hopefully you're seeing that, and we will talk a little bit more about this, or let the video sort of explain a little bit more, and go from there. All right.
Process essay is meant to explain how to do something or describe how something is done. And there are two ways that you can show process. The first kind is what we call instructional process or direction process. Now, in this case, you're explaining to the reader how to perform a task, or how to do something, or how to make something. For instance, how to operate a machine, how to build something like a doghouse, or how to make pancakes. Now you're giving the reader a set of instructions to follow, and you're expecting that the reader will be able to perform the task after they've read your paragraph. So in this case, you are speaking directly to the reader. You're using words like you, or you're using the imperative. Now, while this is quite common in daily life in something like a recipe book or an instruction manual, it's not as common as the second kind in the academic world. Now, the second form of process is what we call informational process or descriptive process. Now, in this case, you're not giving the reader instructions to follow. You're simply describing a process in order for the reader to understand it. So, for example, how does a Hollywood movie go from being an idea to a completed film, or how is maple syrup produced? Okay, so here are some tips on how to write an effective process paragraph or essay. First, you should be using the present simple tense and the passive voice generally. Now you want the present simple because you're describing a recurring action, a process that is unchanging. It was the same yesterday as it will be tomorrow. And you're using the present or the passive voice because you want to focus more on the product itself and not so much on the person who is performing the task. For example, maple syrup is made from sap, which is collected from maple trees. Okay, now when you're organizing the steps in your process, you want it to be logical for the reader. So you should be using words that express sequence, like first, second, then, next, or finally. For example, first, maple trees are tapped and the exuded sap is collected in buckets. Now, while it's important to use words that show sequence, you don't want to use a sequence word at the beginning of every sentence. You don't want to be saying first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on. You want to avoid repetition. So an easy way to do that is to use pronouns and relative clauses. For example, the syrup is filtered to remove sugar crystals. This creates a superior product free of an unpleasant gritty texture. So the word this is referring to the entire sentence beforehand. And also, you may want to include some definition in your process writing, because oftentimes when you're explaining the steps of a process, you may be using words that are unfamiliar to the average reader. Just as an example, in my first sentence, maple syrup is made from sap, which is collected from maple trees. Someone may not know what sap is, so you may want to be a little bit more clear, because the key is that you want your process to be as clear as possible. Okay, so if you follow these steps, you will be able to write an effective process paragraph. And if you want to practice this, follow the link at the end of this video.
So again, that's a way that you can approach your process analysis essay. If you go back, there's another video here that you can kind of watch if you need to watch it. It might give you a little different perspective. There's some pages in your e-text between 100 and 104. There's a sample essay there that you can kind of look at. That's really good. Let's look at dangling and misplaced modifiers, as well as parallelism, which is the grammatical concept for this week. So we will do that right now and go from there.
With Boost from Kroger, enjoy unlimited free delivery. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
So what is ClickUp? ClickUp is an all-in-one productivity software where you can manage everything in any.
Hey everyone, welcome to another English grammar lesson. Today we're going to be covering dangling and misplaced modifiers. So the word modify means to change the meaning of something, a change of time, a change of place, a change of situation. So a modifier in a sentence is any word or phrase that modifies or changes another word or phrase in that sentence. Let me show you. The man's broken computer was fixed versus the broken man's computer was fixed. Now, the modifier in question here is the word broken. But notice how, depending on where this word is placed, the sentence could have an entirely different meaning. The man's broken computer was fixed. In this sentence, we're saying that the computer is the thing that's broken, the broken computer. However, in the second sentence, broken doesn't actually modify computer. It modifies man. The broken man's computer was fixed. So in this sentence, you are technically saying that the man himself is broken, which is interesting. So you see that it's very important to put your modifiers in the correct place. And that's what we call a misplaced modifier, when the modifier is in the wrong place. The second common type of modifier error is what we call a dangling modifier, which would look something like this. Hungry, the sandwich was eaten by me, versus hungry, I ate the sandwich. Now, the modifier here is hungry, and it should modify the word or phrase right next to it. So if that's true, if the modifier is technically supposed to be modifying the thing right next to it, then what would this first sentence really be saying? Well, believe it or not, you would actually be saying that the sandwich was hungry, which is obviously a lot different from the second sentence, where you'd be saying that I was hungry, right? So some of you might be thinking, okay, well, yeah, I kind of get that. But how am I supposed to remember the difference between a dangling modifier and a misplaced modifier? And the honest answer is, it doesn't really matter. As long as you can tell when there's a modifier error and you know how to fix it, then you don't really need to worry about what specific kind of modifier error it was. Let's take a look at some examples and see if you can fix them. On paper plates, we ate the hot dogs. So technically, this would be a dangling modifier, but that's not the point. The point is, there's something wrong with this sentence. So first of all, can you even tell me what the modifier is in this sentence? Do you even know what it is? Give yourself a point if you said, on paper plates. Now remember what I said earlier. Modifiers are supposed to talk about the thing right next to them. And here, that would be the word we. So really, what this sentence is saying is that we were on paper plates. Like we were sitting on paper plates and eating our hot dogs. Probably not what you're trying to say, right? So the question is, how do we fix it? How do we rearrange this sentence so the modifier error goes away? Well, I'll give you a second to think about it. The correct version of this sentence would be, we ate the hot dogs on paper plates. Now, the modifier on paper plates is actually modifying the hot dogs, which is what we want. Next one, I saw $1 walking home. So technically, this would be a misplaced modifier, but I don't really care. What I really want to know is, first of all, what even is the modifier in the sentence? The answer is walking home. Okay, so what does that phrase modify? Well, like I said earlier, it's supposed to modify the thing right next to it. And in this sentence, that would be dollar. So yes, indeed, you would be saying that there was $1 walking home, like on its little dollar legs or something. And I imagine that would be a problem. So how do we fix it? Where do we put that modifier so the sentence actually makes sense? Think about it for a second. Should have said right here. Walking home, I saw $1. Now the modifier refers to the word I, meaning that I was the one walking home, which actually makes sense. Couple more. Because he was late, the teacher gave John a detention. Okay, so another dangling modifier here technically. But my first question, as always, is what is the modifier? What am I even looking at here? And the answer is, because he was late. And what does that phrase modify? Well, again, it's supposed to modify the thing right next to it. So, teacher. Okay, so because the teacher was late, he gave John a detention. So the teacher showed up late and then gave a student named John a detention. Okay. So how do I change this sentence so that it actually makes sense? Think about it. And the answer is, no matter what you do, you just need to make sure that the modifier is connected to John, not the teacher. So what I would do, personally, is just take out the word teacher entirely. Because if the teacher is male, we might actually have two people who the word he could refer to, and that could get very confusing. So for me, personally, I would say something like this. Because he was late, John received a detention, or John was given a detention, or John got a detention, whatever. The point is, the phrase because he was late needs to be modifying John, so it needs to be right next to John. Okay, last one. I grabbed the sled with my snow pants on. Okay, so this would be a misplaced modifier technically. But as always, what even is the modifier here? Answer is, with my snow pants on. Now tell me, written as it is, what is this sentence actually saying? Well, technically, it's saying that you grabbed the sled and that the sled had your snow pants on. Like the sled was wearing your snow pants. Okay? So how do I fix this? What do I do so that things actually make sense? Answer is, I do this. With my snow pants on, I grabbed the sled. This way, your modifier is actually talking about the word I, meaning that I was the one with the snow pants on. Cool. Well, whether you came here for a refresher or just now learning this stuff for the first time, hope this video helped. Be sure to check out the free practice down in the description, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
I hope that that particular video explains dangling and misplaced modifiers a little bit better. I haven't seen a whole lot of those right now, but a lot of times when we get into SA3 and SA4, dangling misplaced modifiers start to pop up. I also start to see issues with parallelism or parallel structure, which we're going to look at next. So let's take a look at that one.
Are you having trouble trying to keep up with your professor? You've got to try Otter. Here's how it works. Let's say I'm in class. I just hit record, and as you can see, everything I'm saying is turning into a transcript as I talk in real time.
Hi, in this video we're going to talk about parallelism. That is matching grammatical structures, finding a way to be consistent within a sentence. So what is parallelism? Well, it comes from this idea of parallel lines. The lines that you can see here both go in the same direction. They're parallel. They will never cross each other. So they both go in the same direction. So when we're talking about grammar, we must match grammatical structures in a list of two or more. For example, we can have a list of nouns, or a list of verbs, or a list of phrases, or a list of clauses. But the key is to be consistent. We don't want to mix and match grammatical structures. Nouns with verbs in a list, for example, would not be technically grammatically correct according to standard English. So we want to be sure that we're consistent. So let's look at some examples. Marta is a baker, not a banker. So in this case, we have two nouns, baker and banker. Here's another example. I love to run, hike, and swim. Here we have a list of verbs. Run, hike, and swim. Here's another example. Professors can be fun, interesting, and thoughtful. Well, of course, that's an opinion. But in this case, we have three adjectives, fun, interesting, and thoughtful. Here's an example with phrases. Running 3 miles is one thing. Running an entire marathon is another. So we have the phrase running 3 miles and then the phrase running an entire marathon. So these are good examples of parallelism, where we're being consistent with our grammatical structures. So when do we need to use parallel structure? Oftentimes when we're connecting ideas with coordinate conjunctions, and these again are fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. So here are some examples of using parallel structure or parallelism with these coordinate conjunctions. Here we have an example with adjectives. She is fun, caring, and friendly. The next one is an example with phrases. You can do your homework now or do your homework later. And here's another example with phrases. I believe in working hard first and relaxing later. Of course, we have a few more opinions embedded here. So what are some other times when we would use parallel structure? When we have correlative conjunctions, so phrases like both, and, not only, but also, either or, neither nor, and rather than. All of these are cases where we would use parallel structure. So here are some examples. Jose is both intelligent and wise. So we've got adjectives there, intelligent and wise. He is not only smart, but also athletic. Again, another example with adjectives. He will either become a doctor or become a lawyer. So there we have phrases. Neither his mother nor his father have doubts about his success. In this example, we have nouns, mother and father. And then one more example. He would rather study medicine than study law. So you can see how we're maintaining a similar structure, how it's parallel grammatically. Here are some more examples. We also need to use parallel structure when we use comparisons using than or as. So here are a couple of examples. Maggie cares about her academic life as much as she cares about her social life. So here we have a whole clause. Maggie cares about her academic life as much as she cares about her social life. So there it's a clause compared to another clause. Here's one more example. For her, enjoying life is more important than getting straight A's. So here we have a phrase, enjoying life, getting straight A's. Notice in this example, we're using gerunds, verbs ending in ing. So even the form of the verb should be the same. We should be using a similar structure with the form of the verb as well. We also use parallel structure whenever we have items in a list or a series. So if we have 3 or more nouns, 3 or more adjectives, 3 or more verbs, 3 or more phrases, we would use parallel structure. A couple of examples here. Maggie likes to study, read, and write. So there we have clearly 3 verbs, study, read, and write. Another example, I have pens, pencils, erasers, and staples in my desk. There I've got a list of items, in this case all nouns. So the main thing that we need to remember with parallelism is that we're matching grammatical structures. We can think about parallel lines. We want them all to go, they all go in the same direction, so we want always to have the same grammatical form. So we're going to be consistent whenever we're structuring lists.
Check this out.
Hopefully that video helps you a little bit with parallel structure. You can also look at additional information with dangling misplaced modifiers and parallelism from your e-text, pages 208 through 213. This other stuff you can kind of look at. We did hit a little bit on revising and editing. That's usually what you do going into from the 3rd stage to the 4th stage. We covered a little bit of that, the whole deal with the writing process. Again, there's page numbers 72 to 87 in your textbook. A lot of this should be reviewed from previous English courses that you've taken. The whole deal with the writing process is a process that, continues as you go from one essay to the next. The only thing that really changes could be, the genre that you're writing, from narrative to descriptive to process to the definition as it relates to essay 4 in the midterm. Diction and spelling, there's some information in your e-text about that, 257 through 67 or 267. A lot of times when we say diction, or when you see something in comment section of your essay that says diction, it's really meaning your word choice. Are you using the correct word for the context of that particular sentence? Spelling, if you're using Grammarly, if you're using any kind of Microsoft Word editor, you got spell check. There's spell check on your phone. You can go to any web page and search for a dictionary or a thesaurus. I'm not really worried so much about the spelling, just because you have a lot of free resources at your fingertips. So in a lot of ways, nobody should missing points for misspelled words in this day and age. Still, I have folks that for whatever reason, don't go back and proofread and spell check and grammar check their work. So they wind up losing some of these easy surface area points just because they didn't go back and check their spelling. Moving into let's see, the actual quiz for this week. And again, I moved that up a little bit just because I didn't want you to have so much crammed in here on Sunday, because I think originally it was supposed to be due on Monday, so I moved it to Thursday. So you have some more information here about your process analysis. This one's a little bit lengthier. I'll let you sort of watch that on your own. That deals with essay 3, the one that is due this Sunday. I realize Father's Day is this Sunday. There is a Dropbox already open for week 3 or Essay 3 right here. You don't necessarily have to wait until 11:59 this Sunday, especially if you're spending time with dad or you're taking, dad out or whatever the case may be. You're going to be out of town. You can easily go ahead and work on Essay 3, or you should be in the process of drafting Essay 3 probably right now, so you can get it finalized and go ahead and submit that before Sunday if you have a big Sunday plan. Again, I moved the week 4/5 lecture. This is sort of, again, a continuation of week 5/week 6 from last week. So if you haven't watched that video, this talks a little bit more about Respondus, about Essay 3, about the midterm essay that you're going to have to use the Respondus program for. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Respondus and Essay 4 here momentarily. But the whole deal with the quiz, the Dinion on keeping a notebook, again, this is sort of the instructions. You have until 11:59 this Thursday to get it turned in. This is the question. Has modern technology such as social media and blogs changed the ways in which people write so as to make notebooks and journal things of the past? Discuss the relevance of Dinion's essay in our electronic age. So that's really the question that you're going to have to answer based on your reading. I'm looking for a good sized paragraph, probably a half a page or so. If you're looking at word count, that'll give you about 125 words. I do give you sort of the rubric below. One, obviously, if you don't turn anything in, you get a 0. 1 out of 4 is going to give you the 25%, which is failing, and you can see why. 2 out of 4 is going to give you 50%. It's a little bit higher, but it's still an F. Again, you can see why you would get that. 3 out of 4 is 75%, which is a C. You can kind of read here and see why you would get that. And then again, 4 out of 4 would give you the A plus. Now, there could be some variations. You could have something like a 3.5/4 or something of that nature. But again, don't overthink it. If you read the Dinion piece and then you can kind of have your own sort of personal opinion as it relates to this question, you should be pretty good to go as long as can you support your particular main points. We're going to look a little bit at the Dinion piece, go over it, so to give you a little bit of extra knowledge. So when we look at this particular piece, it is a essay. It's coming from a larger work. So a lot of folks may say, well, it kind of reads like a narrative. In some ways it does. There is some description. There is some process involved in this. So really one of the main questions you want to sort of ask yourself is, do you agree with Dinion about keeping a notebook or a diary? Now, some of y'all, especially the females maybe, used to probably keep one when they were in elementary school, maybe middle school. The male students probably didn't necessarily keep a diary. They might have had a notebook that they had their drawings. Maybe they had various things in that notebook, songs, excuse me. Maybe they had some stories and that type deal, science fiction stuff. But at some point, you probably did keep a folder or a notebook or a diary that you drew stuff in, or you jotted down little notes or items or lists or whatever the case may be that you wanted to have more or less security over your thoughts. Privacy was a big thing as you were growing up, probably. That's why you try to maybe put it in lock and key. You try to hide it under the bed, in the closet, in a drawer somewhere. You didn't want anybody sibling-wise or guardian or parent-wise necessarily finding it. And especially, your significant other, whether it was a boyfriend or a girlfriend at the time. So the persona here, Dinion is a very personal and writes in an informal tone. As you read this 6-pager, you're going to realize that she is really personal and writes in that particular informal tone. Her use of the first person narrative makes her a distinct character in her own essay. So you should have probably done the same thing with your essay 1, where you were writing in first person. You became sort of the protagonist or the main character in your own particular work as well. Craft, natural thought process, strong use of I, which is first person. She asks a lot of rhetorical questions that don't necessarily get answers. And she has anecdotes, which are little small, short stories, short narratives of their own. Idea. Dinian argues that recording entries in a notebook is for understanding how events from the past impacted her. So she's using it as a way to recall history, sort of like photographs. In a lot of ways, everybody's got some sort of a social media account, whether it's a Twitter or X, um, Facebook, of course, Instagram, MySpace may still be out there somewhere. Personal web pages, blogs, where you take pictures or you upload videos, and over a year or so, if you got certain features unlocked on your, let's say, your Facebook, it will bring back memories that happened a year ago or 5 years ago or 15 years ago, however long you had your particular profile, and give you that option whether do you want to reshare those, or do you want to sort of keep them private. And again, a lot of times you have the opportunity whether you want to share to the public, with meaning anybody that has a Facebook account that knows you, that can basically look up information about you, would be remain open for the public. Or you could put the lock on and sort of just either have it just for you, or you can select just close friends and family to be able to view whatever you're posting, whether it's written, video, or picture wise. She connects her ideas with the use of her personal anecdotes. So she has these little short stories that she sort of shares with us. Self-exploration, right? Here's a particular quote. There's a couple quotes here. What is the business about shopping? Typing peace. Dinner with E. Depressed. Shopping for what? Typing with peace. What is E? What is this? E. Depressed. Or was I depressed? Who cares? So she has sort of this stream of consciousness going on, like we've seen with in week 1 with the Virginia Woolf piece. To her, this sort of makes sense. It's going through the process of figuring something out. To us as the audience, we may not know really what she's trying to get to, but it's really this process of working things out. Sort of what you do with a draft. You sort of go through the thought process of working out what you want to particularly write and have down on paper. I have already another quote. Already lost touch with a couple of people. Used to be one of them. A 17-year-old presents little threat. The other one, a 23-year-old. Brothers, bothers me too. She was always a good deal of trouble, and I suspect she will reappear when I least want to see her, at once saddening me and angering me with her vulnerability and ignorance. So again, using that first person I, she's really referring back to herself in the past when she was that age. Here's a discussion question to kind of think about as you're reading through this and answering the actual quiz question possibly. Do you think she, being Dinian, is writing in the style of wandering through her thoughts for her audience, or that it is actually for her own use? So it sounds like she's just sort of rambling around. I think it could go either way. It's sort of digging up memories from her past when she was younger. But I think it's also showing what her writing process is of digging stuff up from the past and how she goes through it as it relates to the writing process of putting stuff down on paper. It relates to the audience. Here's a couple quotes. How it felt to be me. That is getting closer to the truth about a notebook. Remember what it was to be me. That is always the point. So again, the notebook was a place that she was able, it's sort of like her Facebook, right? Before the internet and computers were around, she was able to put her private thoughts, and only really her was able to see them until she was able to make them, possibly publish them in a longer piece of work. What use was I planning to make of this line by Jimmy Hoffa? I may have my faults, but being wrong ain't one of them. Might I not be better off just passing it on to John O'Hare? What is a recipe for sauerkraut doing in my notebook? So again, if you know some history, you know who Jimmy Hoffa and possibly who John O'Hara are. She's using some pop cultural reference of her time in her particular essay here. It is a good idea then to keep in touch, and I suppose that keeping in touch is what notebooks are all about. Think about Facebook, Twitter. You're sort of keeping in touch with either family members, new friends, or old friends. And we are all on our own when it comes to keeping those lines open to ourselves. Your notebook will never help me, nor mine you. Creating a scene. And yet it is a precisely that fictitious crab that makes me see the afternoon all over again. A home movie run all too often. The father bearing gifts, the child weeping, an exercise in love, in family love and guilt, or that is what it was to me. So again, she's using personal anecdotes and examples throughout this particular 6-page essay to get her point across in creating this particular scene of these memories. Here's another quote. But of course, that is exactly it. Not that I should ever use the line, but that I should remember the woman who said it and the afternoon I heard it. We were on her terrace by the sea, and we were finishing the wine left from lunch, trying to get what sun there was, a California winter sun. So again, this is a discussion question you kind of think as you go through the piece. Also, as you start thinking about your quiz question, what is the effect of bringing back sauerkraut? Sometimes we remember certain things, right? Certain meals that we've had in the past with a family member or a friend. Sometimes that scent, that smell, that scene, that location, harken back to SA2 with this description, will conjure up memories. Sort of like if you watched a movie recently, and that could be a movie that you and your grandpa used to watch, and your grandpa is no longer here. Or you were driving to work one day and you heard a song that you and your mom used to sing to when you were little, and you realize, hey, your mom's no longer here. So little things like that bring back memories. Um, what one song or what one food item like sauerkraut or hot dogs or whatever the case may have different substantive meaning for each one of us. For some, hot dogs just a normal thing that we eat. For others, hot dogs could be that last moment you spent with that best friend before whatever happened to that best friend. That last song by Guns N' Roses, maybe the last song that you and your brother um, shared a beer or two, or whatever the case may be. All right. So I'm hoping by reading that piece and answering this question, you should be able to put a little bit of fun into it, creativity, because I'm sure most of us have some sort of a social media life out there. We may not be on it all the time, but I'm sure that we have used it or currently are using it. So you could probably relate to this question really well and come up with some unique answers. Again, try to keep it a good sized paragraph, about half a page, 125 words if you're worrying about the word count. Make sure that you spell check, grammar check, um, proofread and edit before you submit. If you do use quotations from the actual Dinian piece, if you go back and review the weeks 4 through 5 lecture, I talk a little bit about the MLA 9 in-text parenthetical citations and the works cited page that you're going to need to provide when you do quote or paraphrase or summarize a particular sentence or passage that's coming from somebody else's work. It's something good to learn now, because when we start talking about essay 4 next, which is your midterm, the Respondus Event, you may need to quote particular sentences or phrases or passages from those two of friendship essays that you will probably need. You definitely want to read them, and you probably want to kind of use some of their ideas to back up your ideas when it relates to one of the two topics you're going to have to choose from for that particular midterm extended definition essay, which is on friendship. So basically, you're sort of creating your own extended definition on a modern day, what it makes to be a friend, friendship. What is the modern definition as you see it, as you experience, as you know it, because we probably all have those best friends in our life at some point. And you can really extend beyond a dictionary definition what having a strong friendship is. And again, we're going to look at that here momentarily. So again, if you have any questions about the Dinian quiz due this Thursday, please email me and let me know. Remember, this is where the essay 3 topics for that process analysis essay, the one that's going to be due this Sunday. Here's the Dropbox. And let me see here. Back and back out. Week 6. This is the actual question, or as basically the topics with directions. So let's download that. This is for the Respondus Lockdown Browser Midterm Event. So I'm going to bring this up just to show you what we're all working with. If it will cooperate with me, it will be okay. So the midterm essay, this is the one that's going to be due by Thursday, June 20th. So if you look, today's the 11th. You basically have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You have about 9 if you count today, 10 days to do the actual essay 4 extended definition midterm essay. You can turn in essay 4 if you feel confident and comfortable. If you already sort of looked into the week 6 and looked at the 2 readings by Francis Bacon of Friendship and Michel de Montaigne on friendship, you can turn in your essay 4 way before you turn in essay 3 if you feel confident and realize that you're going to have to download that Respondus lockdown browser. I'm going to go through some of those videos here momentarily. If you don't download that, you're not going to be able to take and complete your midterm exam. Once you hit start or begin, you're going to have only 60 minutes to type. Once those 60 minutes expire, make sure that whatever you type in a little white box, because you're not going to be able to use Microsoft Word, because the program is not going to let you click off one particular browser and go back to the desktop. So there's going to be a box, a white little text box, where you're going to have to sit there and take your 60 minutes and type. Make sure that you save often. Make sure that you proofread and edit, spell check, and grammar check your work often. Because as it gets closer, probably to the last 5 or 10 minutes, if you're still typing, there's going to be a little clock or a little timer that's going to pop up, basically letting you know, hey, you got 9 minutes left. You got 3 minutes left. You got 45 seconds left. If you don't save your stuff and submit it before that clock runs out, chances are it's just going to submit as a blank document. There's going to be nothing saved. And once that happens, I have to grade it as a 0. Because this is a one-shot, one-and-done type deal. Meaning you can't get help necessarily from me, right? You can't send me drafts. We're not doing a peer review for either essay 3 or 4. You're going to have to know how to proofread, spell check, grammar check, your own work for both. You can't already have a pre-written draft that you're basically looking back and forth and just retyping it, or uploading that pre-written draft and saying, oh, I'm done now. You're doing this by scratch. It needs to be 2 to 3 pages or 500 to 750 words, whatever comes first in your case. I would say for most folks that have really been successful on this particular assignment, they've generally take about 40 minutes of typing time, 10 minutes to proofread, edit, spell check, grammar check, and then the other 10 minutes to sort of save and upload. So that would give you 40, 50, that would be your 1 hour mark. Again, you only want to start this if you feel like you can actually be in a quiet room where you're not going to have any distractions, meaning you're not going to have anybody run in and out, no kids around, no family members coming in and talking to you. I wouldn't even have the TV or anything radio wise if you know if it's really loud that the proctor, because you're going to be watched. That's the whole deal with the lockdown browser. Somebody on the other end is watching you take this particular timed essay exam. So if it looks like your eyes are wandering from one screen to another, that could be a flag. They could flag that and say, hey, this person's got a rough draft that they're basically copying and pasting off of. And once that happens, they could lock down your browser, shut it off, and basically send me an email and the video saying, hey, this is, potentially this person's cheating. If that happens, if you are cheating, then you're going to get the 0, which nobody wants that. It's going to bring your grade down low if you do get the 0. I wouldn't have anything really taped on the wall that looked like, sticky notes or posters. So I would probably take it in a room that has clear, clean and clear walls if possible. Doesn't have a lot of noise, TV or radio noise going on. Doesn't have people running in and out. Doesn't have a whole lot with the phone calls, coming in. So if you feel like you're not going to have that environment, or you're not going to have the ability to get a working webcam or a working web mic with stable internet connections, with stable computer, then you might want to go to the closest Coastal Pines Technical College testing center, which will probably be the library. Of course, keep in mind there might be a waiting period because other people may be coming in that week to take a exam too. If you got another online class, you're probably going to have to take the Respondus still if you haven't already during maybe midterm or as it gets closer to the final exam period. Since we are doing this as our midterm, we don't have to do it again for the final exam. You want to try to keep everything in MLA 9 format as best you can in that text box. Because again, you're not going to be able to use Grammarly or Microsoft Word to actually type this thing. But these are your two choices as it relates to your essay topics. So you either choose A, friendship in a multicultural society, or you choose B, friendship in an age of superficial connections. So either choice, just pick one. You don't have to do both, but they're going to refer back to Bacon's and Montaigne's essay. So if you go back, this is the Bacon essay. This is the Montaigne essay. This is some more information about the timed essay, the Respondus Event. Here's, again, some more information here. You want to have a student ID, Coastal Pines Technical College student ID, or a driver's license that has basically your first and last name along with your picture. It's going to ask you that first off before you can even really get into start typing on the exam. So if you don't have that, it's not going to let you go to the next step. We will come back and look a little bit more at the Bacon and Montaigny essay here. What I want to bring up is if you go here, because we talked about this last week, there's going to be some information. If you click here, it's going to give you some links. Here's a short video as it relates to downloading to Chromebook. So we're going to look at this real quick.
I chose St. George's University School of Medicine because at the time that I wanted to go into medicine.
Installing Lockdown Browser on Chromebook. To install Lockdown Browser, start the Chrome browser on your Chromebook. go to the unique download link provided by your school. You will be redirected to the Chrome Web Store, where you can add the extension to the Chrome browser. And that's it. You're now ready to take your exam in your school's LMS with the Lockdown browser for Chromebook.
All right, now keep in mind, you're going to have to use, if you're using Chromebook, that's the way you're going to have to get the Lockdown browser. If you're using Respondus for Windows, this will show you how to, this tells you how to get the Lockdown browser for Windows. And you go here and you sort of download that. Here's an overview.
If you're watching this video, you're probably required to use Lockdown Browser or Respondus Monitor for an online exam. Lockdown Browser is a different kind of browser. While taking an exam, you can't print, use other applications, visit other websites. You can't even search the internet for answers. I know, it takes all the fun out of online tests. But here's the good thing. Your classmates can't do those things either, so it's a level playing field for everyone. To use Lockdown Browser for an exam, you'll log into your online course as usual and navigate to the test. If Lockdown Browser hasn't yet been installed to the device, you're prompted to do that step. Otherwise, Lockdown Browser will start automatically or will indicate that you need to start it manually. Upon startup, Lockdown Browser might warn you that certain applications have to be shut down before you continue, like screen capture programs, instant messaging, or pretty much anything that lets you communicate with the outside world. After this quick step, your test will begin. Remember, after the exam starts, you won't be able to do other things on your device until you submit the exam for grading. When you're done, just exit Lockdown Browser and you'll be all set. Your instructor might also require you to use a webcam with Lockdown Browser. This is often called Respondus Monitor, but you can just think of it as a webcam for Lockdown Browser. The nice thing about the webcam feature is that it allows exams to occur from the comfort of your home or from the other side of the world. Plus, exams can be delivered at any time of the day or night without any advanced scheduling required. The webcam will record what happens during the exam, and the instructor can review it afterward. Remember, no one is watching you in real time, and only your instructor will view the proctoring results and video later. If an exam requires you to use Lockdown Browser and a webcam, just locate the exam in your learning system and select it. Before the exam starts, you'll be guided through a check to make sure your webcam is running properly. Additional steps might also be required by your instructor, such as showing your ID or taking a video of your surrounding area. If you encounter any issues, you can use the built-in troubleshooting or start a live chat session with one of our super friendly support agents. No bots here. Once the exam starts, don't give the webcam another thought. Just focus on that test you stayed up all night studying for. When the exam is finished and you submit it for grading, the webcam will shut off automatically. That's pretty much it. Now, take a deep breath and good luck.
So again, that's how you would get it if you were using Windows. So we looked at how to get it for Windows and how to look for it as it relates to, let's see, here it is. For the Chromebook. So you're gonna have to download it for the right one, the right computer browser that you're going to be using, because otherwise it's not going to work. So make sure that you're doing that. Let's go back here to week 6. So that's where we're going to be momentarily. And go back here. So there's also information about how to do it for Mac. If you're using a Mac, we will look at that here momentarily. This is for the Mac. It recommends you not to do it on an iPad. It just probably won't work too well. And I definitely wouldn't recommend it on a cell phone. Because it probably won't, it's not going to let you do much there with a cell phone. With a tablet, it should, or a laptop. With an iPad, which is basically like a tablet, it may or may not. I know definitely iPad it won't. So I would stick to one of these, either a Chromebook, Windows, like a desktop Windows, that type deal, with a laptop, or a Mac. So if you click here again, you download it. It's going to go through the same video that we just watched with the Windows, but this time it's going to be Mac. But you definitely need to download the Respondus before you're able to even get on to take the exam. If it asks, like I said in an email and I said in the previous video, if it asks for a password, then you did something wrong on your end. Because the password is already built in by the program. I don't know the password. So if you ask me for it, I'm going to be like, hey, I don't even know it. Because you probably downloaded, let's say you're using a MacBook, but you downloaded the Respondus app for a Chromebook. So if you have two different apps going on, then of course it's not going to work. You need to get the one that's compatible to whatever device, whether it's a desktop computer, laptop, a MacBook, or a Chromebook that you're using. There's some other videos here that we can kind of take a look at real quick.
Gives you the power
that goes in a little bit more detail about
the website you need.
A little introduction to
business functionality.
Respondus.
If you're watching this, you're probably required to use Respondus Lockdown Browser for an online exam. Lockdown Browser is a different kind of browser. While taking an exam, you can't print, use other applications, visit other websites, you can't even search the internet for answers. I know, it takes all the fun out of online tests. But here's the good thing. Your classmates can't do those things either, so it's just your brain against their brain. A level playing field. Your instructor will provide a link for downloading and installing Lockdown Browser. When you start it, Lockdown Browser might warn you that certain applications have to be shut down before you continue, like screen capture programs, instant messaging, Skype, pretty much anything that lets you communicate with the outside world. You can close those applications yourself or let Lockdown Browser do it for you. The browser will then go to the login page for your online course. Log in like you normally do and locate the exam that requires Lockdown Browser. Remember, after the exam starts, you won't be able to do other things on your computer until you finish the exam. When you're done, just exit Lockdown Browser and you'll be all set. Your instructor might also require you to use a webcam with Lockdown Browser. This part is sometimes called Respondus Monitor, but just think of it as a webcam for Lockdown Browser. The nice thing about the webcam feature is that it lets you take exams from the comfort of your own home, or from the other side of the world. Plus, you can take exams at any time of the day or night. The webcam will record what happens during the exam, and the instructor can review it afterward. So, if an exam requires you to use Lockdown Browser and a webcam, just start Lockdown Browser and locate the exam. Before the exam starts, you'll be guided through a check to make sure your webcam is running properly. Additional steps might also be required by your instructor, such as showing your ID or taking a video of your surrounding area. Once the exam starts, don't give the webcam another thought. Just focus on that test you stayed up all night studying for. When the exam is finished and you submit it for grading, the webcam will shut off automatically. That's pretty much it. Now, take a deep breath and good luck.
So in a lot of ways, that's the same video we sort of watched. It's just a little bit more animated. If you do have issues, there is Respondus support. You can click on these links. It will help you. Again, I don't have control over whatever's going on with your computer. I mean, if the weather starts acting up, lightning, that type deal, I can't control the weather. I can't control updates on your end. I can't control power issues, flickering lights, updates. I can't control poor internet connection because of the wind, or, if you live out really far in the country. A lot of it, if it's computer issues on your end, I can't control, because basically the only thing I have responsibility over is uploading the actual exam question and, grading your work. So if there's something going on, more likely it's gone your end with your computer, which I can't control that. So that's why I say I would make sure that all your updates to your computer, laptop, desktop, whatever the case may be, are all updated before you start. If you think that you're going to run into some issues because you don't have a webcam, you don't have a working mic, your internet is sort of on and off depending on the time of the day or which way the wind blows. And again, most of our Coastal Pines Technical College campuses and sites, they have a testing center. It's usually or you could use the library to take the test. You're still going to have to log into the lockdown browser deal. There's no way around that. So whether you do that at home or you do that at the college, you're still going to have to use it. The deal with the college is we're only open Monday through Thursday, and mainly the business hours usually for each campus, it may vary, so you might want to call or check the website. But for the most part, it's from 7:30 in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. The benefit about taking, if you're able to take the Respondus from the comfort of your own home, is that you don't have to necessarily worry about those business hours, because you can take it at 9 o'clock at night as long as you got everything working on your end. What I wouldn't recommend doing is waiting until Thursday next to take this thing. I would try to take it a little earlier just in case you start having some issues. Because again, once you hit begin, that's it. That's your one try. I mean, the college pays for these exams. Each person that has to take one, they're only going to pay once. So if you log on there and 30 minutes later, your computer goes kapoof and you lose everything, then I'm sorry, you're going to have to take your zero. So if you think that's going to be a possibility, I would go to a testing site and use our equipment, the web mic, the web camera, our computers, our internet. But again, give yourself some time, because depending on how far you're driving to get to your nearest campus, you may need an hour to at least get there. You're going to need an hour to at least complete it, and then maybe an hour to get back. So what I'm saying there is I wouldn't go to a testing center, let's say next Thursday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, knowing that they're going to close at 6, because you may not have enough time, or show up somewhere 5:45 and the library closes at 6. Well, you got 15 minutes. There's no way you're going to type 2 to 3 pages in 15 minutes unless you already have something pre-written. So that's going to be a tall tale sign for me. I mean, if I know some folks can type fast, but you're not going to be able to type 2 to 3 pages in 15 minutes. There's just no way, with everything spelled correctly. So if I start seeing stuff that's turned in, 15 minutes, 22 minutes, then I know something is probably up. Unless you just didn't read the material and don't have much to say about either one of those two topics. But again, the exam is open. Once you download that Respondus app, you can go ahead, if you want it, read the 2 essays by Bacon and Motagany, and you feel confident of either A or B from the essay 4 topic list, you can go ahead and do this essay before turning in essay 3 if you want. That's up to you. If you want to do essay 3 first and then tackle this next week, just keep in mind, once you turn essay 3 in, if you're going to turn it in on Sunday, you're only going to have 4 days then to take the exam for the Respondus, because the 20th is the last day. So at 11:59 on the 20th, if nothing is there in the Respondus area, then you're going to get a 0. There's no way I can reopen that up. There's no way you can come back and redo it. because you forgot it or whatever the case may be, because again, the college only pays for it once. So, and I think this is either 15% or 18% of your grade. It's a big chunk. And if you don't do too well on it, it could, depending on where your grade is at, bring you down a couple letter grades. So be wary and, be smart about it, because you don't want to start week 7, because that's when we're going to start talking about the research project, research paper. And that's going to basically take us all the way through into the end of the semester, because most of the stuff that's going to be left is going to be deals with your research paper, and the percentages or the weights as it relates to grades are really worth a good chunk of your grade. So you don't want to get a 0 going into week 7 is basically what I'm saying. You want to have a strong, really strong grade heading into the last few weeks of the semester, because after next week, we come the week of the 24th. Then the week of July 1st through the 7th, we have summer break. So there's no classes. Nothing's going to be due. We come back in July. We have the week of the 8th, the week of the 15th, the week of the 22nd, and basically the week of the 29th. And that's it. July is going to go by pretty quickly. And again, by that time, we won't have any more quizzes. We're only going to have really three assignments when we come back in July. One is the proposal, goes to the research paper. One's the annotated bibs, deals with your 6 scholarly sources that go with your research paper, and then the actual research paper itself. So when we come back, basically you have about 3 weeks in July. You got 3 assignments. That's it. So hopefully your SA2 grade will be good. Your SA3 grade will be good. And then when you take that midterm exam, your Respondus SA4, hopefully you have 3 really good essay grades back to back to back to sort of support really the last three assignments. When we get into our last month of the semester, which would be July. Let's look a little bit at these 2 essays, and I'm just going to sort of give you the high notes for them, because again, if you haven't read, it's not going to mean too much if I just, start nitpicking a lot of this stuff. So I want to give a chance for you to go back and kind of read these things. So let me see. We got this one of friendship, and we got this one of friendship, both by 2 different authors. That's the Matagany piece. Let's get out of that one. That's the bacon. Let's see if we can pull this back up. Got that. That's the bacon piece. Well, here. We'll just do it this way. Just wanting to act up on me. All right, let's see. I'm going to try to put these 2 together a little bit. And then we're going to sort of end class with these 2. So as it relates, right, looking at the Francis Bacon piece, you're going to notice that these are both written within about 100 years from each other. So a lot of things have changed even during their period as it relates to friendship. And when you look at both of their opinions compared to our modern day opinion or your modern day opinion, there's a lot of time. Some things kind of stay the same. Some things have changed a little bit. If you look here, the Montagne piece is going to be fairly lengthy. Do your best with it. There's going to be some Latin and stuff in there. Usually below the Latin, they give you sort of the English translation of it. Again, just do your best as much as you can. I know this can be kind of a dense piece. The bacon piece is a little bit easier. Again, there might be some Latin and stuff in there. But to continue to go to the next page of the friendship of bacon, you want to keep clicking where it says next, chapter 27 continues. I think the bacon piece is a little shorter, than a Montaigne piece, but it could just be how it's typed up and written on the both web pages too. So in the Bacon piece, Bacon explores the nature of friendship and its significance in human life. He identifies three primary benefits of friendship: the ability to share one's thoughts and emotions, the opportunity for intellectual growth, and the provision of support during difficult times. Bacon argues that true friendship is based on mutual respect and emotional connection, and that it can enhance one's well-being and personal growth. He also emphasizes the importance of choosing friends wisely and supporting strong, lasting relationships. So in a lot of ways, we can kind of agree with Bacon with some of his ideas here, some of his notions. The Montaigne piece on friendship delves into characteristics and qualities of a devoted friend. He posits that the ideal friendship is one based on shared values, honesty, and genuine affection. For Montaigne, friendship should be free from ulterior motives or selfish interest. It should be grounded in a deep emotional connection. He also reflects on his own experiences of friendship, using personal anecdotes to illustrate his views on the subject. In summary, both Bacon and Montaigne highlight the importance of true friendship in enriching human life and promoting personal growth. While Bacon emphasizes the practical benefits of friendship, Montaigne focuses on its emotional and psychological dimensions. Together, these essays offer valuable insights into the nature of friendship and its role in fostering human happiness and well-being. So looking at these two essays together, as we look at modern times, the present times, think of, some of the friendships you've had in the past, some good, some bad, hopefully more good than bad. The insights provided by both Francis Bacon and Montaigne on the nature and importance of friendship can still be relevant to friendships in modern time. Bacon emphasizes on the practical benefits of friendship, such as supporting during challenging times and opportunities for intellectual growth remains significant in today's fast-paced and interconnected world. Again, think about email, Facebook, social media, that type of stuff. With the advent of technology and social media, modern friendships can span vast distances and diverse backgrounds. Bacon's perspective highlights the importance of seeking out friends who challenge and broaden one's perspective, which can be especially valuable in an increasingly globalized society. Montagne's focused on shared values, honesty, and genuine affection as the foundation of true friendship is equally pertinent in the modern context. With the prevalence of online interaction and the potential of superficial connections, Montaigne's emphasis on emotional depth and sincerity reminds us of the value of fostering meaningful relationships based on trust and mutual understanding. Additionally, his views that friendship should be free from alternative motives or ulterior motives or selfish interest serves as a reminder to prioritize empathy and empathy in our own relationships. In summary, both Bacon and Montaigne's perspectives on friendship can provide guidance for individuals looking to cultivate meaningful and rewarding relationships in today's world by balancing practical consideration with emotional depth and sincerity. We can build friendships that enrich our lives and contribute to our personal growth. So that's pretty much both essays in a nutshell, and then I give sort of a commentary of how you can kind of use both of them as it relates to modern day friendships. Now, there's a couple quotes that I chose or picked out that you could definitely use in an essay to support your own definition on friendship, depending on whether you choose topic A or topic B. One comes from Bacon's particular essay, which is a principal fruit of friendship is the ease and discharge of the fullness and swellness of the heart, which passions of all kinds do cause and induce. So, what Bacon is basically saying in this quote is it highlights the importance of sharing emotions and experiences with friends, which is crucial in today's fast paced world where stress and anxiety are prevalent, meaning we get overwhelmed a lot with stress and anxiety, whether it's from school, work, both, family, other friends, spouses, siblings, whatever the case may be. Another particular quote that comes from Bacon's essay that's really, I think, powerful for a modern day definition that you can kind of use for friendship is the greatest trust between man and man, or man and woman, or woman and woman, depending on how you want to look at it, is the trust of giving counsel. Bacon emphasizes in this point the value of seeking advice from friends, which aligns with the modern day need for guidance and support in various aspects of life, such as career and personal growth, which, think of mentors. Think about a job that you might be working at for a long time. You probably had a mentor or somebody that kind of showed you the ropes. Let's say you just started a new job, or think back at that first job that you got. It could have been a summer job. Somebody was showing you the ropes of how to do stuff the right way, the correct way, so you're not having any kind of issues or, the possibility of, hey, now you did something wrong. It's going to have to come out of your check, or you're going to get written up, or there's a possibility that this is going to cause you to get fired. Mentors, a lot of times, are coaches, especially if you play on like a team. You have coaches, mentors that can be friends as well. There's some quotes from the Montague piece. One such quote is, "Friendship is nourished by communication, and it is communication that nourishes it. If communication were taken away, friendship would disappear," which is really true because this particular quote resonates with the modern understanding of friendship as a constant communication, especially through digital means, right? Email, texting, voicemail, voice messaging, video, social media, web pages, blogs, whatever the case may be, shorts, YouTube, right? Is a vital aspect of maintaining friendships across distances and busy schedules. Yeah, so say your best friend has to pack up and move, right? And they don't just move to 4 states away. Let's say they move to across the world. They're living in South Korea for whatever reason. You can still communicate back and forth via email, via cell phone, social media. Back in the days that Montague and Bacon were writing these, they didn't have that. The only thing they had was they had pen and paper. The mailing system, if it did exist, did take a lot longer than it does now. The other quote is coming from the Montague essay: "There is no action or thought in which I do not miss him," his friend in this case, "as he would miss me. He is with me so wildly and so young, even in his old age, that he has brought back the past and all its charm." So, think about that for a minute. I'm going to have to step away real quick because I hear our janitor out here, and he's going to be knocking on my door soon. So, bear with me for the rattling. Thanks. Thanks. Again, bear with me. That's the beauty about online learning. You just never know sometimes when you're gonna have to stop for stuff. A little different if in person. wouldn't have a lot of distractions. But that's the way of the world. So this particular quote that I just finished reading, Montagne emphasizes the emotional depth of true friendship and an enduring connection that transcends time and age, which remains relevant today as people value long-term relationships and emotional support. So again, that's 2 quotations each from both of the essays. You might be able to use or find more. Again, if you need any assistance or help, don't wait. Please don't wait until the last minute before this thing is due, because I don't want anybody, if possible, not to get a really low grade. I mean, you can use outlines, you can use note cards, you can print out the 2 essays. You want to highlight the stuff that you want to use from them. That's fine. Again, you just can't have a pre-written draft already written that you're just basically either copy and pasting back over, which that's going to be kind of hard to do because it's not going to let you go. It's not going to really let you type this thing on Microsoft Word. And you don't want to have something that you're already printed out and that you keep doing this, right? Because the camera's going to be looking at you. And it's probably going to, what they're going to want you to do is probably do like a survey around your room. It's probably going to want to look at your notes. Excuse me. It's going to want to look at the stuff that you have. So if they think if anything is suspicion, they're just going to lock you down right there and shut it down. And you don't want to get in that situation, especially if you wait. Again, I wouldn't wait until, I wouldn't wait until Thursday to kind of do this next. I would try to do it before Thursday, if possible. That's the only thing besides, because you're not going to have anything due that weekend. So you're going to have the 16th when essay 3 is due. That's your process analysis. That one you can, if you want, you can type it up. You can send me intutor.com drafts of that. I will look at that one. It's the essay 4, the one that we just talked about as it relates to the friendship. That's the one that you need that Respondus browser application for. That's the one that you can't really get help from, but you can use, again, like I said, note cards and an outline of what you plan on typing for your essay. So again, the timer is going to start ticking down the minute you click begin. So it's only going to give you 1 hour. So if you're having to travel to a campus to take this, I wouldn't wait necessarily 1 hour before they close in case you're running into issues, because they're going to be wanting to go home at 6 o'clock. They're not going to be wanting to wait around because you didn't test out your equipment, or you showed up 10 minutes before the place is going to close down. So I would probably take if you're going to go to a campus to take this, I would probably get there before 5. That way to give you a little bit of wiggle room. Again, I'm letting you know this now. So in case you work, you can let your job or your boss know that, hey, I may need to take a half a day to be able to get this done so I don't get a bad grade. So it's open. You can take it this afternoon if you want. You can take it tomorrow morning, as long as it's in there by 11:59 next Thursday, which would be June 20th. That's the only thing that matters to me. Remember, June 19th is Juneteenth. It's a Wednesday. If you have classes that are in person, you're probably not going to, it's a holiday. We're going to have that off. It doesn't really impact us so much because we are online. So you're sort of not coming to class anyway. So we will still have, there's stuff still due next week. One being this particular midterm exam. All right. So this is basically going to cover the rest of week 5, which is this week. And for the most part, it's going to cover everything that we need to do majorly for next. So the next time we probably will have another video, or another time that we will meet, will probably be the week of June 24th, which that would be week 7, the week before we head into summer break. So I wish everybody well as it relates to Essay 3, due this Sunday. The quiz, that's due this Thursday. And then Essay 4, the midterm respondus exam, due next Thursday. So we're coming to the end where I had to double check, we may have one more quiz, but after that, we're not going to have too many more. So we're slowly or rapidly, depending on how you want to look at it, getting to our final month of the semester. So I hope everybody has a good rest of your week for week 5. Again, email me if there's any questions that pop up. I can't read mine, so unless you email me before these things start to become really a headache or a problem for you, I'm not going to know. I'm just going to assume that because I'm not getting any messages from anybody, everybody knows what they're doing, and everybody can find what they need to find as it relates to the respondents and download and all that stuff. So until we meet again, which would be in about another week or so via video, have a good week. Good luck next week with the midterm.